Well, welcome along to Betting Weekly Extra Time European Edition. You're with Dan Roebuck alongside me, Steve Wyss and James Eastham. We kicked off the new season with action in La Liga and Liga last week. Next up, we've got the Bundesliga and Serie A joining the fray, and we are hopeful for another spectacular performance from the best Euro cappers around. Steve, this game is easy was my opening line, but first of all, you've got to tell us where you are, because it looks like you're on the back of a boat. Oh.
Well, I'm not quite in the sea yet. I'm on a pier in Wales. Let's hope I don't go overboard. But I'm quite happy to go giddy again after Wednesday evening. Great start. Was really pleased with the start. But you're as good as your next bet, aren't you, Dan? So you got to crack on and move on to the next match day. So I'm not resting on my laurels. But I was, I wanted to get out of the traps quickly, and I did. So hopefully, and James had a great start too, by the way. We're still unbeaten after 1 week.
Yeah, can't argue with that.
Yeah.
I mean, none of this tread carefully nonsense, James. Match day one, let's wait until the form sort of beds in. Flew out the boxes, as Steve was suggesting.
Yeah, we absolutely did. I'm not going to say glass half empty, but I can be quite cautious sometimes with winning weekends. It's all about the long game and making the profit over the season. But you know what? Sometimes you just have to say that was a great weekend, and that's what we had last weekend, Steve, with 3 out of 3 winners. I made a profit as well, so it's great. Psychologically, it's always good if you make a winning start to a new football season. We've done that. We're in a great position. Let's now see if we can keep it going.
Get your comments in on YouTube, who you're betting this weekend over the course of the European slate. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and like as well. It is always very, very helpful. We're going to kick off with James's one-unit play. Serie A is back, so the champions are back in action. And Napoli, they travel to Sassuolo. It's a 12:30 Eastern kickoff on Saturday. The short price here, James. Obviously, Napoli won the Scudetto last season, and they're plus 160 to win it again. Promoted Sassuolo did brilliantly in the second tier, but Napoli will have some significant following away from home here. They're expected to win. How are we tackling it, though, for the one-unit play?
Yeah, they are expected to win, and they're short odds to do so, as you would expect. They're minus 186 on the money line to get all 3 points. So I'm back in Napoli on the Asian handicap with a minus 1 goal start at minus 122. So with that pick, if they win the game by a single goal, you will get your stakes back. And if they go on and win it by 2 or more goals, then you're going to make a profit. And yeah, they're title favourites. Some people may be a bit surprised how short they are. Plus 160, you say, Dan, in the futures outright market to win the Serie A title. They've shortened over the summer. I think they deserve to be favourites, and I think they're going to make a winning start this weekend. You're right on Sassuolo. They did really well last season. They've come up as Serie B champions. Fabio Grosso, people might remember him as a player, as their manager. So great opportunity for them to see where they stand by facing the champions here. But I think they're facing a really tough game here against the Napoli side, who have got a really good record head-to-head away from home in this fixture against Sassuolo, who were generally good away from home last season anyway. I think they're really comfortable playing this sort of match at Antonio Conte's side, and who, for me, don't really look any weaker than last season. If anything, they're maybe a little bit stronger. We know they've added Kevin De Bruyne in midfield, who's obviously the big signing, and 1 or 2 other players as well. So I think Napoli are in really good shape going into the game. The big concern, of course, is the injury to Romelu Lukaku, which rules him out here and might rule him out for a little bit of time. So it looks like we might have Lorenzo Luca leading the line for Napoli. He's a summer signing from Udinese, who's a different sort of striker, but not a bad player to have brought in that you can pick here. He's an Italy international, and he got 12 goals in this for Udinese last season. So I would be really surprised if Napoli don't win it here. You might only get your stakes back with the minus 1 Asian handicap pick if they win by a single goal, but they do have the talent, the potential, and I think the focus to go on and win this game by a couple of goals. I think Napoli will want to go out of the traps fast, put down a marker and show that they're serious about their title defence. So it's my one-unit play. It's on Napoli, minus 1 on the Asian handicap, and it's minus 122.
Yeah, and it served James really well, that play last season, if memory serves. Let's get Steve's best bet 2-unit pick for the weekend. We go to France, Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern. It's Nice against Auxerre. Nice are the favourites here. Steve, last week, 7 of the 9 Ligue games cash for unders players, including both of the games involving Nice and Auxerre. They take each other on in the south of France this weekend. What you got for us?
Well, I'm sticking with the same underplay on Auxerre. Who had this down on their bingo sheet for Steve Wyss? First 2 weeks of the season, 2-unit play on Auxerre.
Unders. You've changed.
Under again. Under 2.75
It's the CR.
Well, yeah, I do like my unders at this stage of the season, but I was on the unders for both teams last week, and now they play each other, so why should I change my strategy? Nice still haven't scored a goal this season. And if we look at their shot on target stats, again, it's only like 4 or 5 shots on target in 3 competitive games. Auxerre had an XG in open play of 0.75. They had a penalty which they missed, but from open play, they're not creating anything. They're going to sit deep. So Nice are going to have even more problems unlocking a defence here. And yet the goal line goes higher. Work this one out. I mean, you can get minus 130 here on under 2.75 goals. Sometimes you've just got to not go and overcomplicate things, stick with what's working really well. And, even if there's 3 goals scored exactly here, I'm getting half a loss. So this had to be the 2-unit play again, considering the line value I'm getting. I was convinced my 2-unit play was going to be the one later on in the show. I've been eyeing it up all summer, but after what happened last week, I've got to stick with Nice versus Auxerre. All the metrics are pointing to unders. The performances on the field, the eye test is pointing towards unders. And again, I'm just not convinced on either team who's going to score goals, Dan. So it's got to be under 2.75.
Minus 130, 2-unit play for Steve. Let's get to James's 2U play. Also in France, we go Sunday 9 a.m. Eastern, Lorient against Rennes. Rennes, arguably most impressive winners, James, over the course of match day 1 in Liga. A lot looks right in terms of attitude and application. This is a little bit of a derby, isn't it? And it's almost each a 2, which maybe is a bit of a surprise. What's your take here? What's your 2U play?
Yeah, it is almost each of 2. It's Lorient at home to Rennes. Lorient are plus 165 to win the game. Rennes are plus 160 to win the game. So very little to pick between them. I think the bookmakers have priced up this game based on pretty much what we saw from Rennes last season when they finished bottom half and didn't play well. But they were great last weekend, as you say. They won 1-0 against Marseille despite playing with 10 men for most of the game. There's plenty of talent in the Rennes side. The one thing missing last season was maybe a bit of character and application, and we saw absolutely tons of that last weekend. So I'm really positive about Rennes at the moment, and that's why I'm making this my 2-unit game for the weekend. And my pick is on Rennes tie no bet away to Lorient at minus 122. So you will get your stakes back if the game ends in a draw. You'll make a profit. If Rennes win the game, you can only lose with this pick if Rennes lose the match. And I don't really see that happening based on not only how they played last weekend and the quality they've got in the side, but also Lorient, not very impressive in losing last weekend. They're newly promoted. But I can't stress enough what a loss Junior Krupi in attack is for Lorient. We mentioned him, I think, maybe on the season preview show. Junior Krupi was top scorer for Lorient last season when they won promotion. And also, for my money, the best player in the French second division. He has gone to the Premier League. Lorient have not replaced him. They've not signed a replacement striker. So they're basically, at the moment, relying on strikers who were there last season, playing in the French second division. There's a lot about the Lorient side at the moment, which still feels like a second division team. And I think one way to compare the strength of Lorient and Rennes is if you were to give me both sets of players and say pick a starting 11, I'd have 9 or 10 Rennes players in it. That just underlines really the difference between what you're going to be seeing on the pitch here when they walk out. So Rennes, much the stronger side for me. And the fact it's priced up as a 50-50 game means what an opportunity to get on a Rennes team who made a really good start to the season last weekend and have got more quality anyway. So it's my 2-unit play. It's Rennes tie no bet away to Lorient, and you can back that at minus 122.
Time to get some hot dogs next up here. We're flying out of the boxes with plenty of official picks for you. Stevie's up first. This is a Sunday 2:45 game. It's Lille against Monaco. Monaco are the favourites here, plus 138. Lille plus 180. The matches that these two sides featured in last week produced 10 goals. In fact, they're only overs games. And Steve, more on the agenda here, but obviously this is hot dog territory, so you've got to push the line pretty high here to get the price.
Yeah, strike while the iron's hot again, Dan. I cashed with this hot dog last week on over 3.5 goals in the Lille game. In this instance, by all means, bet over 3.5 goals again. It's at plus 190, so it's not quite hot dog, is it, with our rules? So I've got to bump it up to over 3.75 goals at plus 225. Again, as long as there's at least 4 goals in the game, we're going to win the pick. But everything we said, James and myself last week about the Lille game in Brest came to happen, didn't it, really? We know that the defence has completely changed. The goalkeeper's changed. There were mistakes. It just had a frantic feel about it. They went 2-0 up and they blew that lead. Ended up drawing 3-3. So I'm not convinced by their defence, but I do like what I'm seeing going forward. Giroud was a threat. He scored. And now they're facing Monaco. And Monaco are one of the most kind of gung-ho teams in the league, actually. Biref didn't score last week, which means he's due a goal. And I think they're going to quite fancy facing this Lille defence, really. So, I mean, this is a Sunday evening match. I think we're going to get a bit of a shootout. The last 4 head-to-head meetings have gone under 2.5 goals. But I've never really been one for head-to-heads unless it suits my agenda. So, very happy to strike again with, it's over 3.75. So I'm going to get a full cash if 5 goals are scored. And I think there could certainly be 5 or 6 goals again. This could be a bonkers match. Absolutely well worth watching. I reckon if you bet the first, 7 or 8 games for Lille this season over 3.5 goals, you will definitely make a profit.
We're going to go over 3.75 because of the rules of the hot dog. It's plus 225. Giroud, incidentally, who did score last week, and the boys gave him a great shout out. He's plus 175 anytime goal scorer. Now is the veteran French striker. You have got a lean on this one, James. It's the sort of similar vein, really, isn't it? But you also like goals.
Yeah, I do. My lean is on over 2.5 goals at minus 137. If you're looking for something slightly more conservative in the goals market. Agree with everything Steve says there. We saw last weekend that Lille have got defensive issues at the moment. They may sort them out, but it's basically down to their transfers. They've sold Lucas Chevalier, their goalkeeper, to PSG, and Diakite, very good centre-back, has gone to the Premier League. So the defence last weekend looked like a work in progress from Lille, which it is, in their 3-3 draw against Brest. I totally agree with what Steve says. I think Monaco will be really looking forward to facing this Lille defence at the moment. But Giroud scored last weekend on his Lille debut and was brilliant at bringing the other attacking players into play. We know he can do that. And he showed that even at his age, he can still do it at this level. So I think Lille will be feeling pretty confident about their attacking chances themselves. So it certainly looks like it's going to be a high-scoring match. Over 2.5 goals is my lean at minus 137.
James, hot dog comes next. We go to Spain. Oviedo against Real Madrid, 3:30 Eastern on Sunday. Oviedo, obviously, big price here, plus 950, nearly 10 to 1. Real Madrid are very short, minus 385 here. Real Madrid didn't cover the Asian line in midweek versus Osasuna, not for the want of trying, though. 17 attempts at goal. And I suspect, James, are not going to be shot shy at Oviedo, but which players are the value to pull the trigger? You've got a couple here. One is your official hot dog, though.
Yeah, I really like the way Real Madrid went about it in midweek, in the sense that they didn't necessarily play that well and they only won 1-0, but it was fairly clear to me from a betting point of view how they were playing. The first thing to say was everything was going into Mbappe in the final third, which, you can argue is not a surprise, but it's worth pointing out he had 6 attempts on goal, which shows just what a dominant character he now is in that penalty area for Real Madrid, and not that many attempts on goal from the wide attacking players who are, it feels at the moment, they're very much to serve him. So what I think that means is it does maybe open up the shot on target market for some players in slightly deeper positions for Real Madrid. If it's not going into Mbappe in the final third, maybe they're going to try things from distance or try things from long range. So yeah, 2 players I think are worth looking at in the over 0.5 shots on target market. for Real Madrid are firstly Aurelien Tchouameni, the midfielder, who had 3 attempts on goal in that midweek game, none of which were on target. But I think even though he tends to play in a slightly deeper midfield position than some of the other midfielders, I do think he's a player that will fancy his chances of having a go on goal here based on what we saw in midweek. He's my official hot dog play. Tchouameni over 0.5 shots on target. The price on this has moved. It was plus 650 at the start of the week. It came into plus 600. It's now plus 460. So the market has responded to maybe the fact the price was so big at the start of the week. Still very happy to take plus 460 as my hot dog pick on Tchouameni to have over 0.5 shots on target. I would take anything down to about plus 350 on Tchouameni. So I'll be keeping an eye on the price all the way up until kickoff. He's my official hot dog play. The other player at Real Madrid to keep an eye on is Dean Huyson, the new signing at centre-back. He managed 2 shots on goal in that midweek game, one of which was on target. He's available at plus 320 to have over 0.5 shots on target. Interesting to see how Real Madrid use him both this weekend and going forward. Maybe they're going to try and get him forward into shooting positions as well. So a couple of players to look out for. As I say, Mbappe is obviously the dominant figure in attack. But at the moment, I think there are 1 or 2 players at bigger prices who are worth looking at.
Yeah, Tchouameni is the official hot dog. Howson, and I was reading a match report about the Real Madrid game, and they were suggesting that he's the player that they want to step forward, because they know that in a lot of games they're going to have a lot of the ball, and a lot of teams are going to sit very, very defensive. Oviedo will do. Incidentally, their game against Villarreal, Villarreal had 50 touches in the opposition penalty area, which was the most of any team across the big 3 leagues that played last weekend. Incidentally, they conceded 25 shots and 10 on target. So there's, and that was Villarreal. This is Real Madrid. There's a lot to like, I think, about the players like Tchouameni and Howson, because they're going to be in positions to take a pot shot. It's going to be a low block. It's going to be interesting to see what Real Madrid do, how Oviedo, if they try and do something differently, they're not going to be able to, are they, really? What's your thoughts on Real Madrid, Steve? I know you talked about it midweek with Nigel and on the live show, and I think a lot of us wanted to fade Real Madrid because of their sort of Club World Cup stint, as we have been doing Paris Saint-Germain and Chelsea. From my personal point of view, there's still a little bit of a hangover. You explained that there was a little bit of an issue with the Spanish Football Federation, that they wanted not to play last weekend, but they had to. I mean, are we still fading Real Madrid? Is there still that hangover? What's your general thoughts on them?
Well, guess what I like here? Under again. Under 2.75 goals again. Yeah, minus 110. Because what I saw from Real Madrid was a team who looked like they're going to dominate a lot of games, really dominate territorial this season. They conceded just 2 shots in that fixture, but their offense is not quite firing yet. I think the 2-0 scoreline is really very possible for Real Madrid in this fixture. It's going to be a big game for Oviedo. It's their first home match. They were awful last week, by the way. Villarreal absolutely murdered them. It should have been more than 2-0. So I'm a little bit concerned there could be a big beating. But I think at this point in time, I'm not fading Real Madrid, but I'm fading their goals kind of thing. I'm thinking 2-0, 3-0 at worst for the visitors. I don't see Oviedo scoring. So Real Madrid win 2-0. And I really like James's hot dog there. He's going big already. And Dean Huyson, I think it's one of the best signings this from any summer team in Europe. He's going to be one of the best centre-backs in the world.
Yeah, Madrid 2-0, incidentally, is minus 112, which seems all right, doesn't it? That is a bet. 2-0 plus 480, 3-0 plus 600 or thereabouts. James, we talked about Barcelona and Real Madrid on our preview show, and we were a little surprised that Barca weren't favourites. They are now, though, aren't they? Even though both teams won on match day 1.
Yeah, they are. They were, what were they, plus 110 before the season started to win the La Liga title. They're now minus 112 favourites, just on the strength of one round of games. And Real Madrid, who were pre-season title favourites, are out to plus 100 second favourites. So my strategy before the season began, that anyone that watched the season preview show will know, was that you're probably going to be able to back both Barcelona and Real Madrid at plus money at some stage this season. And if, like me, you think they're the only 2 sides that can win the title, if you manage to get them both at plus money, then you're guaranteeing yourself a profit. So we're seeing the early signs of that in terms of the outright market, and it just shows, they will respond, will the bookmakers, to just one round of games and what they see, and change those title prices. We saw it last season. We saw it in Serie A last season as well. So let's all keep an eye on that. And yeah, I was impressed by Barcelona last weekend. I thought they were really good value for their easy 3-0 win at Mallorca. Yes, Mallorca had 2 players sent off, but Real Madrid were already 2-0 up when that started to happen and in complete control of the game. And after going 2-0 up and then facing 10 men and then 9 men, they just had it easy, really, and controlled the match and didn't exert themselves. So I thought they've got a lot left in the tank on top of what they showed last week. Yamal was firing on all cylinders and played some really good stuff and scored a great goal. So it's a lean from me on Barcelona this weekend. They're away to Levante. They're obviously very short to win the game, as you would expect. My lean is Barcelona minus 1.75 on the Asian handicap at minus 137. So with that pick, you'll make a profit if Barcelona win by a couple of goals or more. And based on what we saw last weekend, I think there's a very good chance of them doing that.
And the thing is, Steve, as well, when it comes to Barcelona, I mean, Rafinha scored, Lamine Yamal scored, as James was pointing out, and also Ferran Torres. Rashford came off the bench. I mean, things look to be working from the get-go for Barcelona, don't they?
They do. What I really like for this game is the overs. I like over goals again, over 3.5 goals at minus 110. I think they'll do really well from that match last week because they played against 9 men for a long period of the time, so they're used to the offensive side of things. And at the moment, I'm quite confident about Barcelona, actually. I think they could hit. They were better than I expected last week. Okay, it helped facing 9 men, but they had good rhythm, and I think this time they could wreck up the score even more. Levante lost to Alaves week 1. Really poor performance from them. And they don't look like they're capable of defending. That's the problem. They might go on the scoreboard here, which is why the minus 110 on the over 3.5 goals would be the slight lean that I've got on the game.
Just a lean for Steve and James when it comes to Barcelona this weekend. The double, of course, came up on match day 1, 17 times last season. Barcelona and Real Madrid did win over the same weekend in La Liga. Bundesliga returns this week as well. We've got some musings from Steve on a number of games here. We're going to start with Hoffenheim, who take on a much-changed Leverkusen side. Steve, what you got for us here?
Hoffenheim team total goals over 1.5 at plus 200. They've been brilliant pre-season. Scored 40 goals in the friendlies, and then they won 4-0 in the cup last week at Hansa Rostock, I think it was. And I've got to get with them in some form because, look, I've got a feeling that Erik ten Hag isn't going to work out at Bayer Leverkusen. That's just my personal opinion. I certainly think his teams are vulnerable defensively. It's the sort of game Leverkusen might win something like 4-3 or 3-2. So rather than take Hoffenheim on sort of a handicap or even money line or draw double chance, let's just back him to score 2 goals or more. That's a big price, plus 200. I've really nearly considered this for my hot dog play, but I've just got a feeling that Leverkusen are a fade in a certain form at the minute, and Hoffenheim are playing really well and scoring a lot of goals.
Moving on to Heidenheim, who take on Wolfsburg, and obviously Bundesliga, as you know, was a bit of an overs league last season. The market caught up a little bit. Whether it's going to catch up from the get-go remains to be seen. This one is a 9:30 Saturday game. Steve, what do you like?
Goals. Over 2.75 goals at minus 114. Both teams had great big wins last week in the Cup, 5-0 and 9-0 respectively. So that should be really a case to say that both offences are firing. The 9-0 win, by the way, Wolfsburg were -7 on the handicap, but obviously -7 wasn't enough. So Heidenheim have been my kryptonite, haven't they, in recent years? But when you get on the goals with their games, it's usually a bit more profitable. So rather than going against them, I think the 2.75 goal line makes a lot of sense here based on what we've seen last week and how both teams normally play. I like Wolfsburg to have a decent season too.
And another 9:30 Saturday game. It's 2:30 UK, 3:30 local. You like Frankfurt on the money line?
Yeah, minus 137. Let's keep it simple. Really like the manager, Top Moller, and they were very efficient last week in the German Cup. So, I'm not going to overcomplicate it again. Don't need handicaps. Werder Bremen, I think, are not that great. So it's going to have to be Frankfurt on the money line here, down at -137.
We've got a little bit more to go on when it comes to the Mainz game. Obviously, they played European soccer in midweek, and they host Cologne on Sunday. A little bit more of an in here, potentially, Steve.
Well, this is kind of an auto fade just because what I saw on Thursday night. This wasn't going to be a bet, but Mainz didn't look great in Rosenborg, lost 2-1. And we know teams that play in Europe away from home sometimes struggle just a few days after it and they're not used to it. So I'm going to take a nibble on the Billy Goats here. Cologne, just on the money line, plus 320. I wouldn't ever want to invest a lot of money on them because they're a team that are unreliable. But on the money line here, they might just be getting Mainz at a good time, So this is a kind of a small mini hot dog lean, if you want to call it that. Cologne straight on the money line.
Yeah, they've been bet as well. They were plus 320. They're now plus 300, incidentally. They are away from home. You could take an Asian play, but if you don't want to leave any money on the table just in case they do win, take Steve advice. Just a number of Bundesliga leans across the first weekend in Germany in the top flight. We've got some more leans to come. We've also got one more official play still to discuss. We're going to just wind back to Liga with a couple of leans from the boys here. James, you're first up with an 11 a.m. Saturday kickoff. It's Marseille against Paris FC, the game that we are focusing on. And Paris FC's Ilan Cabal, who only just failed to get the requisite price for your hot dog. You said to me this would have been your hot dog, but for the price movement.
Yeah, he would have been my hot dog, would Ilan Cabal, in the over 0.5 shots on target market, if his price was big enough. Our hot dogs are all plus 200 or bigger. He was plus 200 at the start of the week. He's come in now to plus 190, 195.
You're very honest here, James. You could have pushed that. No one would have checked. We like your honesty.
Well, there you go. Right. I thought, do you know what? I'll stick to the rules here. So he just misses out. He's too short to be a hot dog play, but I wanted to flag it up anyway. I still think he's worth looking at if you're looking for an over 0.5 shots on target pick in League One. He's a lovely little player, very skillful player who's been promoted with Paris FC. And it was notable last weekend that although they lost 1-0 at Angers, he was definitely their danger man, playing on the right wing, and was a real threat when he came in off that wing onto his left foot. He had 4 efforts on goal and 2 of them were on target. So he's a player who's in form based on what we saw last weekend. And I think he'll fancy his chances here against the Marseille side, who are still sorting out their defence. They have a few problems, particularly on the left-hand side, that Cabal's going to be facing. So I think he's worth a look. I think a player who's had 4 shots last weekend and managed to get 2 of them on target is going to be in the frame of mind to try the same sort of thing again here. So it's just a lean because of the price, but Ilan Cabal over 0.5 shots on target, well worth a look this weekend.
That's Paris FC up against Marseille. Sticking in France, Steve, you've got both teams to score. Yes, lean for a Sunday game, 11:15.
So lose against Brest. Both teams score, yes. I want to get the 1-1 draw on my side here, but I do think this goes over 2.5 goals, maybe even over 3.5. The same applies to Brest as what applied to Lille. We saw last week that 3-3 draw. It was a bit of a bonkers game. They've lost defenders. They've lost the keeper. The only concern here is that Toulouse do miss a lot of chances. But they did win last week at Nice, which should give them a confidence boost. They are going to get a lot of chances here. So, if Brest was playing a team that's more reliable offensively, there might have been an official sort of pick territory. But instead, it's got to be a lean on the both teams to score yes, rather than over 2.5, because I want to get that 1-1 draw on my side.
Both teams to score yes is the lean for Toulouse against Brest. Let's get to Serie A with a couple of leans here. First of all, from Steve, 12:30 Saturday, Genoa against Lecce. Lecce were unders darlings towards the end of last season. You think they're going to start or pick up where they left off, Steve, against Genoa?
It's got to be another under. I mean, I've turned it to Nigel Seeley or something because I'm just loving unders at the minute. Under 2.25 goals. Genoa last season, we know what they were like in the second half of the season. They were pretty much generally under central unless it was a dead rubber. Lecce, I think, were the lowest scoring team in Serie A, or one of them. and I think they're going to go down. I said that in the Futures show. They've got no goals in them at all. This could be 0-0 or 1-0 to Genoa to start the opening round off, and I nearly just thought about going under 1.5 or under 2 on the Asian line. But let's be sensible. Let's go under 2.25 because then we're making at least half a profit if there's 2 goals scored exactly. But this is going to be a dismal game to start Serie off with. I mean, I can't recommend anyone watch this at all, so it's got to be another under.
Yeah, flash score only for this one. Lecce's last 19 games last season, 14 of them were under 2.5. 2:45 Saturday, main game on Saturday evening, Serie A. James, Milan against Cremonese. And your lean here sort of centres around a player that might be missing. Explain that to us.
Yeah, Rafael Leao of Milan has got a calf injury. A lot of media have ruled him out of the game already. Calf injuries can be tricky, and it looks almost certain as we're recording this that he's going to be missing, and that's obviously a blow to Milan. So my lean on the game is under 3 goals, which is available at minus 130. Very hard when you look through the Milan team for me at the moment to see where the goals are going to come from. And with Rafael Leao out, even more so. And I think promoted Cremonese are going to go there and be pretty defensive. They'd love a draw from this match. If they could get a 0-0 and come away with that, they'd be delighted. So I find it very hard to see there being 4 goals or more in this game. And with a lean on under 3 goals, at the very worst, you would get your stakes back if there were exactly 3 goals, and then you'd make a profit if there were fewer than that. So it's only a lean. It's under 3 goals, minus 130 for me.
Yeah, what I did see as well, having watched a Milan pre-season game against Arsenal, I mean, they played Leao as a centre forward rather than from off the left.
Yeah.
You know, and that just seems to me that they are struggling to have a main guy. He's a little bit of a sort of hybrid sort of 2 up front, but it didn't seem to work for me. He's a talented player. But yeah, they look like they're just short on a few ideas at the moment. But you know that Allegri's probably just going to keep them defensive anyway, you know, back at the club for the first time in however many years. That's an interesting one. I love the 3 line as well. It means you get your money back if there are 3 goals in the game. Monday Night Soccer. If you've been paying attention, we haven't had Steve's 1 unit play just yet. Well, we're going to give you it next because Inter take on Torino, 2:45 Eastern Monday. Inter, who stumbled towards the end of the season, as we know, in the Coppa Italia, in the Champions League, where they were thumped in the final, and of course when it came to trying to track down and pass Napoli. Change of coach, Steve, and this is the key, we think, for us, because we might not get this type of line moving forward. Talk us through your 1 unit play.
This will come as no surprise to anyone. Under 2.75 goals, 1 unit play. This could easily be my 2 unit pick. Christian Kivu is the man for unders. I got on that train at Parma. They've acquired him as manager now. All 4 of the Club World Cup games they're in went under 2.5 goals in the summer. His main focus is on defence. He's a more pragmatic manager. He's kind of a disciple of Mourinho. And I think we're going to see Inter at times this season struggling for goals a bit. But he's a result manager. And, you know, he'll just want to get a 1-0 win and get out of here against Torino, who've changed their manager as well. But I noticed in the Italian Cup last week that, I mean, they only beat Modena 1-0. There was, I think, less than 1 expected goal in the whole match. They had 7 shots, just 3 on target. So Torino, they were quite defensive last season anyway. They have changed the manager. But I think at this point in time, they're going to be going to Inter just looking to get out of there with a draw. This could be 0-0. I think Inter will win it. I think 1-0 or 2-0 to Inter is more likely. We can get a 2.75 goal line to go under with. So there's even more security. And, I mean, I sort of targeted this as a 2-unit play all summer. But the Auxerre game was just too tempting for me so I had to do that for the 2-unit. But absolutely official 1-unit play on Monday night. Inter against Torino, under 2.75 goals. Minus 114 with Bet Rivers. This goal line's too high.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the goal line with Inter because, yes, they're a very good side and they're expected to win games, but that 2.75 line looks really high and it might start to creep towards 2.5 over the course of the season if results point in that direction. James, you've got some thoughts on this Monday night fixture as well, and you're fading Inter to a certain extent.
Yes, I am. I'm not particularly hot on Inter going into the new season. You know, stand to be corrected there, depending how they start. But wasn't that impressed by them at the Club World Cup, which was tricky in some ways for them coming on the back of that really heavy Champions League final defeat against PSG. So maybe we shouldn't have expected too much from them. But I think they've got a few challenges to pick themselves up from what happened over the summer and in that Champions League final. And I just thought, looking at the price on Inter of minus 265 to win the game, I don't really like the look of that based on, I think, maybe what the mood and the morale in the camp will be at the start of this season. So it's a lean from me on Torino. You can get them plus 1.25 on the Asian handicap at minus 117. So you'd make a profit with that, even if they lose by a single goal. And it's obviously a new season, but for people that do like to look back at the previous campaign at the start of a new campaign, Torino were pretty good against the top sides last season. They picked up some draws on the road against the top 8. And if you look at their 16 matches in total, both home and away against the top 8 last season, they only lost 4 of them by 2 or more goals. So they were a side that could either get something or lose narrowly. So yeah, I'm all about opposing Inter in the Monday night match. Just a lean from me, but Torino plus 1.25 on the Asian handicap for me.
And to wrap things up for us for our second show of the new season, we're going to go to Spain for some thoughts from the boys here. Sevilla against Getafe. This is a 3:30 Eastern kickoff. Steve, we've already talked about Matias Almeida and how Sevilla could be a good watch this season, and maybe there was a precursor to that in their game last weekend. What's your thoughts on this one?
I can't help myself here, Dan. I've got to go overs, and the goal line's at 2. Over 2 goals, Asian at. I think even money now with Bet Rivers. I said about Almeida matches can go mental, and they did in the first week. 3-2 for Athletic Bilbao. How often did Bilbao ever get sucked into a shootout last season? Not very often. And this is what he does. Even if a match looks kind of lost, you can never rule out an Almeida side. So can he suck Getafe into a shootout? They are so defensive. They foul a lot. They suck the life out of games. So I couldn't go official pick on it, but I've got to go over 2 Asian goal line here. I do like Akor Adams again for a shot on target. He's minus money this time, but minus 120 is good enough for me for Akor Adams as my player prop of the week.
Yeah, we're sticking with that one over the course of the next few weeks at least until it crashes and burns. Hopefully it won't do, but I love the over 2 play for this one. Anyone who's watched Almeida's teams over the years, maybe not so much at AK Athens, but certainly when he was with the Quakes and previously in Argentina and Mexico. And James, you've got a prop to follow as well. This is a bit of a flyer from you.
It is, yeah. The player prop is on Lucien Agume, the midfielder for Sevilla, to have over 0.5 shots on target, which is available as we're recording at plus 480. Now, if you look at his goal scoring record over the years, you may wonder what on earth this pick is all about, because he's not a player who scores a great deal of goals. But he scored last weekend, and he scored with a really nice finish from the edge of the box. And I just wonder if the change of manager at Sevilla might allow someone like Agume to be a bit more proactive and a bit more attack-minded in his midfield play. Maybe he's got a manager now who's going to give him more freedom to get forward and get into scoring positions. Because although he doesn't have any sort of scoring record to speak of, I think if you see the way he took the goal last weekend, and maybe people who've seen him playing at youth level as well, he does have the ability to have a decent shot on goal. So it is a bit of a flyer. Based on what we saw last weekend, he's a player who's been linked with an awful lot of clubs at the moment, is Lucien Agume. So there's a bit of a spotlight on him. And I think over 0.5 shots on target at plus 480, worth a look.
That is your lot for this week. When are you back on dry line, Steve? I still think that you're on the back of a boat, but you are on a pier. And incidentally, for those thinking to coming to Britain for a holiday, there's lots of good things about coming to Britain for a holiday. Sometimes the weather isn't one of them, Steve. It looks a bit overcast there. You got your coat zipped up and everything. How's your holiday?
There's you can see the bridge, the Menai Bridge behind me. I'm near Anglesey here today.
Oh, wonderful!
So,
wonderful.
I'm back on dry land soon. This has been a rough ride, though. This has been a rough ride today. So, yeah, let's hope we get some more winners, though. That's what it's all about. We want the winners.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, brilliant match day 1. Let's hope for the same match day 2. James, as well, thanks for your company. Good luck to one and all. We keep everyone updated via our X feeds. That is a wrap for Betting Weekly Extra Time European Show. Follow us at Because We Win. You've got to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're inching towards 11,000 followers. And if we've got nearly 11,000 followers, let's see if we can get 11,000 views of the show. From all of us for now, though, it is goodbye. Have a really good betting weekend.